This is E-lectric, your source for news and views on the FIA Formula E Championship. Welcome to E-lectric, the qualifying show for Punta del Este. I'm joined by Lester Forbes from Downforce Radio and F1Paddock.biz. Lester, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. Hi, welcome. Hi, good, great to be here.
Look, usually it's me coming to you. It's great to have you come to me today, even if it is across the airwaves and time zones. What a qualifying session.
It was first time I'd actually ever seen a proper qualifying session. I'd only ever seen it on the highlights in the pre-race show. And thanks to a dodgy FIA Formula E website, I only managed to see sort of about 2/3 of the qualifying, but I got the gist of it. Anyway, it was a brilliant session. And I actually forgot that they only go out in fives, in sort of groups of 5 cars.
So what did you think of that?
It was a nice little concept. You're able to sort of see more of everybody rather than sort of have a general sort of overview of like who might be doing the best lap times. And also I had the timing up as every self-respecting motorsport fan does alongside. And my timing was like 45 to a minute quicker than the actual TV time. So I had to sort of like pretend that I'd be surprised when Vergne came over the line and set an amazing lap time to qualify at what turned out to be on pole. But I seen it like a minute earlier. So on the timing. So it was fantastic. And that circuit as well. It's absolutely supreme. I loved it immediately. I'd seen it on the graphics beforehand, but you never quite get a sense of how sexy a circuit is. Can that be the right word?
No, that's definitely a sexy circuit. Do you remember the old Surfers Paradise circuit?
I heard a lot about it. It's a bit vague in my memory, but yeah.
I spent a lot of time drinking at the old Surfers Paradise circuit, and
I suppose you've got better memories of it than I.
Yeah, or not. Depends on how you go. I do remember one very memorable night with Mark Blundell, but that's probably not a story for the podcast. It involved a lot of sand. Not like that. No. Yeah. Anyway, not me.
Sorry. Am I lowering the tone?
No, I usually get myself into trouble with that. No, but it was one of those places where you were so close to the action, and the drivers they had a very casual atmosphere going on. So, but as a track, it was a beautiful track. It was very twisty, very tight. You had that the same side by side running that you have in Punta del Este. Where you get a real view of the cars on both sides of the track.
Yeah,
which is just lovely. Yeah, and I think they've the blue paint adds something. Beijing was very grey. All the walls and everything was grey, but I think the cars look amazing. Yeah, well, it is very Chinese. Look amazing against that blue paint. That's going to make for some fantastic photos.
I don't know if it's just because blue is my favourite colour and that shade of blue as well, but I don't know if they did it for a particular sponsor. I wasn't really paying attention, but yes, blue for walls should be the way to go, I think.
Yeah, and we'll certainly see when someone rubs their tyre up against it, as per Antonio Felix da Costa did. He was flirting with the wall, something chronic in his session. It's definitely driving it right to the edge. So let's start with Vergne. That sort of surprised everyone. And I'm hoping that we don't see one of the very typical Formula E penalties come out, because we know that the wattage is hard to manage on these cars, so it would be very bad to see him drop down just because of a penalty. So for listeners, I'm not saying he's got a penalty. I'm just saying that
there usually are a lot of penalties, though.
Yeah, there usually are. But he looked amazing and happy. Go figure.
Yeah, and he did. Maybe he was extra happy because Dr. Helmut Marko was actually at the track as well, watching him set that pole position as well.
Yeah, looking like he'd sucked on a lemon. So
I don't even know why he's there, to be honest, this weekend. He's got so many of his disgruntled former employees from his. I mean, there's Jaime Alguersuari, Da Costa. Buemi, Verne,
yep,
as well, and anyone else I've missed out as well. That
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's
Can't see. I
weird.
don't think anyone else has been in the program, but yeah, you know that Matthew Brammer is too old for them. So unless it's just there whether he's just there to say, Antonio Felix da Costa, you are finally not a Red Bull driver anymore, because that has to be coming. Because
I feel really sorry for him. I like Antonio Felix da Costa, but apparently nobody else does.
No, I'm with you. I'm one of the 5 fans out there.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I think he's a very good driver. He just didn't fit the Red Bull publicity program, as far as I could tell. And I think he looks much better in a single seater than he does in DTM. But then I'm not sure that I think anyone looks good in DTM. So I just don't get it. I don't get DTM.
I do make enough outrageous statements on my Twitter feed, but I don't want to go that far.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm saving my outrageous comments for one weekend at a time. So
yeah, that's right. Look, so Verne was followed by Nelson Piquet Jr., who again surprised us all. He can put it together, like with this car.
One thing that really amazed me more than his actual lap was the fact that we actually got a smile out of him at the end after qualifying. Yes. We saw I don't know if it was maybe a grimace or something.
Something stuck in his
carrying
shoe.
An injury. Yeah. But he actually, I don't know. We definitely seen teeth, and there was it was either a grimace or a smile. But it's good to see anyway. If you don't know what we're talking about, basically, Nelson Piquet is not the most charismatic figures. He is a bit of a misery guts. And hey, maybe P2 acts as like an antidepressant, as I said on my Twitter feed at the time. So,
look, I think that maybe his rallycross experience is helping him drive these cars, because they are skatey as all get out, and twitchy and a real handful. And he seems to have them together, and he does drive them right to the edge, sometimes over the edge and into the wall. But he does look like he might see through the season as quite up high in the rankings.
Surprising, really, because at the very start of the season, he didn't really care about being there. He only said he was in Formula E because he had nothing else to do. So for him to get P2 on the third race, and he's been sort of consistent, really. You've had no real reason to sort of slag him off.
No. Aside from the usual. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing a good job, and P2, I suppose, might be a couple of places ahead of where I thought he might be. But if he wins, it will be a spectacular development, I'd say.
Yep, I agree. Then we have both Edams with Nicolas Prost and Sebastian Buemi. Again, not very far off the pace. Those lap times are, 1:15.408, 1:15.530, 1:15.782, 1:15.842. It's tight at the top.
Yeah, the Edams have usually been. In fact, I think it's the lowest grid position for Mr. Prost. I think. Or Buemi, who's been on pole for the previous two races? Prost, yes. And I did back him as well before this weekend that he would get a third pole position as well, which I was wrong about. So never mind.
That's all right.
But P3, it's okay, I suppose, and it'll be really, really. I want to see these two properly scrapping it out. They are both favourites to at least be in the winning position come the end of the season next year.
Yes, next year, June next year. As I said in this week's podcast, there's scheduling conflicts. DTM run both of the conflict with the last 2 rounds of both of this championship. Potentially the last 3 rounds if London gets a double header. So that's going to be a real issue for quite a few of these drivers, including Sam Bird if he does get that BMW seat that's up for grabs. So it could be interesting.
I wonder if. I think they'll prioritise if they're in a championship winning position, or they're in I don't know what the monetary deal is with these teams. If they're getting paid more by Formula E teams, which I doubt it, or DTM teams, they might make a decision based on that, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll have to see in June. Following up after the EDMs is Jaime El-Swari, who records his highest qualifying of the year so far with a 1:16. Lucas Di Grassi and Jarno Trulli in 7th. Jarno Trulli, go figure.
Yeah, in P7, it looks like all the other cars behind him are going to be stuck in the Trulli train because it is a very tight track. It is very Monaco, as we saw on the TV pictures, which I love. But Jaime El-Swari, if you look at his results so far on paper, you'd have to say that he's been the most disappointing of all of the drivers, given who his teammate is and what his teammate's done so far. But P5, excellent results so far, and he's, I think, for the first time in qualifying ahead of his teammate. I might be wrong, but
I think you're right. I think that's the first time he's qualified ahead of Sam. I think Jaime looked amazing in testing, and then it has gotten to the race, and
he does look amazing anyway.
He does look amazing. Hey, look, there is some eye candy in this grid, and then just nothing wrong with that.
I've stared into his eyes.
Well, that's a story for another time, really, isn't it? Lucas Di Grassi, slightly underperforming for him, I would say, this weekend to be in P6. Really, he's prided himself on being much higher, unless he gets dropped to the back grid for some stupid reason, or crashes it into the wall. But yeah, I think he's a bit out of position. He'll definitely go up. And I have to correct you on something. It's not the Trulli train during Formula E. It's the Trull E train. So you have to remember that one for tomorrow, or this morning. No, hang on.
Trull E train.
Trull E train, yeah. So, yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Then we have Bruno Senna, who is in 8th. We'll have to see whether he manages to finish the race again.
I think he had car problems at the end of his qualifying.
That's
run.
right.
I think he did.
He definitely looked like it. I mean, you have to say that Prost was on the radio quite a bit in French, and all I got was catastrophe and désolé. So I know that it was bad, and he was sorry. So he probably thinks he could have done better, and realistically, he probably could have. So if Senna had car issues as well, then perhaps he's a little out of position. Heidfeld is behind him, and Daniel Abt and Kurun Chandhok. Chandhok doesn't seem to be able to get a good qualifying. He seemed very disappointed with the fact he was going out in Group 1 and would be clearing away the sand, he says.
He has been a very, very consistent performer in all of the races. Probably one of the most consistent, really, in that I think in the last race he finished where he started in something like P7, I think it was, so roughly thereabout. I might be making this up, I don't know. Yeah, but nothing really spectacular from Chandhok, but maybe that's what the team like. They just want someone steady who can bring it home, have a good result, and maybe pick up a good podium if results go their way.
And then after them, we have Oriol Servia, Antonio Felix da Costa, Stefan Sarazan, Antonio Garcia, Salvador Duran. Is it Duran or Duvan?
Duran. That's what I'm called.
Yeah, Michele Cerruti and D'Ambrosio, Bird, and Brabham with no time. So, look, I hate to say that the bottom is the bottom, but I didn't really expect. Yeah, well, you know what I mean. I was trying to be nice to the drivers and not say that the people at the bottom are the people who I expected to be at the bottom. No one really expected Garcia or Duran to sort of set the world on fire, but then no one really expected Vergne to set the world on fire this weekend, and he seems to have done so. Cerruti continues to struggle. Sarazan had an awful spin on his what looked like a quick lap, but yeah, the bottom is the bottom.
I really want Michele to do well, and I'm sure Jarno Trulli also does as well. He's I think he's only going to be driving in his own named team for this season, for the first season. He seems to want to be sort of like a mentor to Michele. I don't know how much that'll pay off, though. she's been all right in Auto GP in the other series. That she's been a winner in that, but like you say, maybe she's still trying to find her feet in this series so far. That's the kindest I'm going to be to her.
Yeah, I think so too. And look, I kind of look at her and think you're a little on the younger side for the average age of female drivers in these sort of things. Maybe you have a bit of time to improve. I know that as a Brit, you're contractually obliged to love Catherine Legg, but she's sort of at a different stage.
Well, she's not even here this weekend, is she? So.
Nope, she's in Atlanta. I think I heard her tweet, but I don't know whether that's a Delta Wing thing or just...
Well, I thought that maybe it was because she had a 10-place grid penalty coming into this round or her next race, which will be a next race, whenever that is. So maybe that's why the team decided, well, I think we might, just go with someone South American perhaps, for this round.
See, I just went with the cynical marketing ploy of going with a local driver. So, look, I love seeing female drivers in the sport, but I dislike seeing them do badly. So it's sort of...
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, it's like when you see a female driver. I mean, it's the same in... I follow GP3 as well.
Yeah.
And so far, the couple of female drivers that there have been in the past two or three seasons have been generally at the back, and nobody wants to see that. It's you kind of... To me, anyway, I kind of half think, well, maybe she shouldn't be there anyway. I'm talking about Michaela here.
Yeah.
If she's going to be running at the back, because that does nobody any good, really, especially women in motorsport.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely something that I'll be writing about very shortly. I've got a secret project on the go, so you'll have to see what I come up with there. But look, I mean, we look at Bitsky Visser, and she's been part of the Red Bull program. She's put in some reasonable results. But Carmen Jorda, she was just not anywhere. She didn't look like she should be on the GP3 grid. It was GP3 she was in, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very early.
You wouldn't know it.
No, she just... Yeah,
I'm trying to be kind to her. But
look, we have to be realists. You can't butter people up just because they're the same gender as you.
Yeah. I don't try and treat everybody fairly, including my criticism of everybody. Gets fairly distributed as well. So if someone does a bad job, then they... Michaela Cerruti was almost 5 seconds off the pace, so I don't know what the reason was. It might be technical problems, so...
Yep, it definitely could be in the engineering in Trulli that there's an issue, and perhaps Yano just has more experience to deal with that sort of issue. So, look, we'll see how she goes. She'll definitely be there for the whole season. I don't see Yano second-guessing himself. He seems to be the type of guy that's going to stick to his convictions and ride out the season the way it is. So, unlike, Andretti and other teams who seem to just go, okay, we'll have you for this weekend. I was reasonably sure that there was a 4-driver limit, but I can only find that in the regulations under testing. So we could see a revolving door of drivers in this championship.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you could be sort of you could forgive teams anyway because it's the first season and there was so many drivers signed up to the pre-list, the pre-testing list. Really, of people sort of kind of expressing an interest, but they want to see how it works out first. It's like Felix da Costa didn't race in the first race because he had other commitments running at the back of
now in his usual place,
DTM or something.
Yeah, in his usual place of 13th, which is also where he qualified. I think he spent most of the DTM season in 13th. And again is in 13th for qualifying for the today. So hopefully he's not going to be our Adrian Sutil and run around in 13th. Well, 13th. Adrian Sutil said this season that he thought it was one of the drives of his career to finish 13th in a Formula One race this year. I'd question the logic of that, but you've got to say something to the media.
It's interesting to hear drivers' mindsets as well, how they think their performance is compared to how I think their performance went, for example, how we think it went. So if you're qualifying down in 13th place, you're going to think, 13th, isn't it? But if a driver comes out and says, yeah, well, it's kind of 13th, they obviously want to be high and they know they should be high. But if some driver comes out and says, yeah, 13th, really great, that, kind of makes me think that they're not really aspiring to get to 12.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think it's the mindset that breeds winning. I've done a lot with sports psychology, and so I was really interested when Romain Grosjean said that he was had a sports psychologist. And one of the things is there's two schools of thought. You can either be constantly positive so that you get yourself out of any doldrums, which is what, perhaps Adrian Sutil was doing, saying he had the best race of his career in 13th. Or you can sort of ride yourself a bit hard, and in some areas that just can benefit you. Say, look, we're not happy with 13th. We think we should be doing better. You've got to strive higher. But it's different strokes for different folks, I think.
Yeah, I suppose I'm not a psychologist in any way. I just literally just say what I think, and most of the time that gets me into trouble. Someone's got to say the stuff we're all thinking. Perhaps my listeners will think I've been a little harsh on Twitter tonight, but it's 2:30 a.m. and I've had my work Christmas party, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm a little chirpy on the Twitter this morning. Now, chirpy in Australia means a very different thing to chirpy in America. Apparently, chirping in America is trash talking, whereas chirpy in Australia means that you're happy. So I'm going with the American definition. They might be trash talking people. So just watch out for Lester and I during the race. I think we might be upsetting a few drivers, just like Sam Bird got upset with Amlin Aguri. I've already called him an angry bird, yeah, and that's been retweeted already by like hundreds of people, it seems like.
Yes, yes. Sam wasn't very happy with Amlin Aguri on Twitter, who, let's face it, they have probably the most irreverent Twitter. They seem to be following people around who didn't vote for them in Fan Boost right now, and saying how disappointed they are in them, which I find very amusing, really. I mean,
well, they sent me a picture of their Amlin Aguri cat, which I didn't even know existed until they sent it me. To be fair, so I've got a nice picture in the post, that came through the post of their Amlin Aguri cat, which, if you don't know what it looks like, I can't really describe. It's just a meme type thing.
Oh, yes, I've seen their meme.
And they sent it me as a picture. Are they trying to buy my votes or something? Or it worked anyway. I voted for them. So.
Yeah. Look, I think that they've got the best Twitter so far. It was great to see them and Virgin Racing poking each other before the race, before the weekend started, and this is the spirit of Formula E. One of the guys from Current E said that when Garcia took out his second rear wing, one of the other teams, I'm lost.
I think Andretti. I think.
Yeah, Andretti. That's it. Rushed over to see whether they needed spare parts. I mean, that's what this championship's about. People smiling, laughing, drivers talking to each other, teams helping each other.
Yeah, I tweeted about that as well. It was really weird when it appeared on TV. You seen, I don't know if they just do it the way that people on like in some like winter sports do, where they all have the podium positions, all sit with each other, and they have a camera on them.
Yes, they do constantly.
But I also seen other drivers talking to other drivers who weren't part of their team, and I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing? Yep. That's not motorsport convention, but I mean, I've been one of the lucky ones to be down in a Formula E paddock and in the pits in the testing at Donington before, and it is really like that. And you sort of think, well, it's only pre-season, of course people are going to be relaxed, but that seems to have carried over that sort of free-spiritedness.
Yeah, exactly. And see, look, we're going to end on a positive. Everyone's happy to be where they are. Jean-Eric Vergne looked absolutely ecstatic to be perhaps giving Red Bull what's the word I'm looking for? Figurative, if not literal, middle figure. And Nelson Piquet, the happiest I've ever seen him. And Prost, very unhappy to be in P3. But that's just the challenge he has to face. Thanks, Lester. This was great fun, and I'm sure we'll talk again. That's our 15 minutes. We're done. We'll see you after the race. Thanks, guys. At E-lectric, we welcome your feedback and inquiries. You can reach us on Twitter at E_lectricpod. That's E _LECTRICPOD or via email podcast@e-lectrified.com. All music courtesy of Kevin McLeod at incompetech.com. Additional audio sourced under fair use. See show notes for sources. E-lectric and its presenters are in no way employed by, affiliated with, or endorsed by the FIA. All views expressed are those of the presenters and represent neither technical nor legal authority.